Hey everybody, it is Missy Bliss with The Magnificent Method, and we are Valuable Media, and today is St. Pat's. Happy St. Pat's to all of my Irish friends and all of my wannabe Irish friends. I really wanted to talk today about, I think the title of this video is Screw Luck, How to Manifest What Your Heart Desires in 6 Steps. So, a lot of people have heard of a movie or a docu-movie called The Secret, and that was a really good take on, I would say, like beginner 101 manifestation. But it's certainly not covering what it needs to cover. I think it fell short in a lot of different places. But in my experience, and it did take me a really long time to figure this stuff out, and excuse me, I would say that I'm not an instant manifester, but the more willing I am to do step 5, the faster it comes. So, the 6 steps are: know what you want, ask the universe for what you want, believe it is already yours, work your ass off, right? Number 5 is surrender to the will of the universe or to God, depending on what your faith is. And then number 6 is simply receive gracefully. So, to break it down, know what you want. Many people have no idea what they want. I need you to really sit with yourself for a couple of days. If you can get it away for an entire day, no phones, no TV, no music, you in a notebook, and ask yourself questions like, what's my favorite temperature? What's my favorite color? And then move from there and know what you want, know who you are, right? 2 is ask. And the way that you ask the universe for what you want is to vision it. Visioning, I can make an entire other video on visioning and probably write 3 books on it. But basically the idea is that the feeling is the prayer, right? And so when you're asking the universe for something, you have to feel as though it's already happening. You have to, and so 2 and 3 are kind of tied into each other, ask and believe. But ultimately you have to make a vision board. And so you can look at this vision board and you can look at, your new life. You can have a mental image. And I often tell people to play a video of what they'd like to see. I have more advanced techniques for clients of mine that work pretty well. But the idea is that you have to feel the feelings of already having what you want, right? Step 3 is believe. Believe that you are worthy. How do you do that? Worthiness is everybody's problem. Everybody's problem is worthiness. Ultimately, across the board, this is all I see ever. All I can see is worthiness issues. You have to believe that you're worthy. Number 4 is work. So there is no, genie in a bottle you can rub and you just get wishes for doing nothing. You have to set the ball in motion. You have to show the universe how serious you are about what it is that you want. And so I have a friend who bought her wedding dress like 3 years before she got married. She wasn't even engaged. You know what I'm saying? Like, you show the universe what it is that you want, and the universe will give you what you want. Number 5 is surrender. You have to surrender to what is often called in Christianity the will of God. You have to surrender to the will of the universe. And so this is if I get it or if I don't get it, which is, it seems like it's a little bit backward, but really this is the part that works. This is the part that nobody wants to talk about. The total and complete surrender. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm still feeling great. I still feel great. Surrender is very much about being in the flow or being in the zone and purposefully, intentionally being happy. Because if the more poorly you feel, the harder it's going to be for you to draw things into your life. So what might take somebody who is a master at manifestation 2 weeks to manifest might take another person 2 years, depending on how much baggage they have. And so surrendering is forgiving those that trespass against you, right? Forgiving yourself for any of the terrible shit that you've done. We've all done terrible shit, okay? We've all made seriously terrible choices. Forgive yourself. And so I keep being pulled back into Christianity and being pulled back to the Bible, but basically Christ was asked, how many times should we forgive them? And he said 70 times 7. And so that's a lot. Do the math there. It's a lot. Do it. Forgive. Forgive, 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 forgive. All day long, forgive. If you're not familiar with that technique, then I would say there's something called the Ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian forgiveness technique. I'm actually writing my dissertation on it. It's absolutely brilliant. Look into that. Very hard to spell. Very popular amongst the metaphysical crowd. Okay, and the number 6 is receive gracefully. So what I'm going to tell you might jar you a little bit, but what it is that you want, you can absolutely have it, but it's not going to look anything like you thought it was going to look. I promise you this. So when I began to manifest things, I was probably 24, 25. My godmother, who was Catholic, bought The Secret, watched it once, thought it was garbage, handed it to me and was like, here, you're weird, you'll like this, and I was like, yay. And so I began on that journey trying to manifest things like pickles for lunch, which worked really well. Very easy and simple. Green socks is something that I manifested quite often just to build that muscle because I knew it was going to have to be built. But then I manifested a relationship with my son's father, and it took a lot of effort on my part, but it really did work. I was able to do it. And then once I got into the relationship, and just a shout out to my son's dad, because he's very much a part of who I am right now. And so I'm not talking trash on him. I just want to, give you guys a very clear representation of how this went down. And so when I went into the relationship with him, we ultimately found that we were not right for each other. I was not right for him. He was not right for me. Nobody's at fault here, right? I began to manifest a relationship that would serve me and where I could be a servant and we could fulfill each other. And I started to, I practiced Tantra, and I started to journal about this almost, I had no intention that this person would ever come to fruition. I had no intention of bringing this person to light. I was basically writing a fiction journal of what I wanted to see in my life. I would draw these, and I'm not an artist. My younger sister's a very talented artist. I'm a makeup artist, but I'm talking about stick figures, y'all, So I would draw these scenarios where I was making love to this partner and, where we were enjoying each other, having fun. And, I was very, very specific about it. And this is a technique that I do teach to my clients, and it worked. Holy crap, it worked. And so it threw a wrench in my entire life. I had to reconfigure my whole entire life. But it works. And so careful what you wish for, you might get it. Careful what you wish for, it's not going to look like what you think it's going to look like. And so when you receive gracefully, don't say, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I asked for. Because it is what you asked for. If you look at it, and if you're honest with yourself, it is exactly what you asked for. Now, the grace comes in being gracious and graceful. Says, thanks, God. That's awesome. Thanks, universe. That's awesome. I sincerely appreciate you listening. And now I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to fine tune this. I'm going to polish this up and make it look a little bit more like what I want. And so you can navigate through just perfectly fine this way. And I find that it's what your deepest heart's desire is that you are manifesting. And so wherever the energy is, wherever the energy flows, wherever the attention flows, that's where the manifestation is going to come from. So if you're worrying, you're praying for what you don't want, right? And so if you're obsessive and relentless about, say, I don't know, a career as a transformational life coach, yeah, my son just taught me to wink today. I'm trying it out. I don't know if I like it. If you're obsessive about things, they come, they come. And so I think I've heard the term that obsessed is a word that the lazy use to define the passionate. And I agree. Whatever it is that you want out of your life, if you're not on God-blessed fire for that, you're not going to get it, and you don't deserve to get it. If you are not hungry for what it is that you want, what you say you want, what you're telling people you want, and it's not coming to you, it's because you ain't hungry enough. And so I'm not a sugarcoater. You'll know what you're doing. You know where you're slacking. Stop slacking. I slack. But if I slack, I know that I really don't want it, right? So once again, it really is a very simple process. Simple's not always easy, but it is simple. So if you've got questions, concerns, comments, please like this. Please share this so other people can get this message if they might need it. And I'm always available to answer questions. Y'all have a great St. Pat's. See you later. Bye.